Hello everyone. Today in the healthcare hospitals we'll be taking up with a new concept of break-even point. Now, before we take up with today's question, in the summary all of you note down the concept of break-even point. In the summary, if you have left the space, well and fine. Otherwise, before you start with today's concept, you note down the concept of break-even point before we start with today's solution. This concept we had done in the hotels chapter also. Okay, this concept was done in the chapter of hotels also. Whenever we have to find break-even point, we'll make a statement in the form of revenue or takings. You'll start with takings. Then from that, you will first subtract fixed cost. Okay, from the takings, first you will subtract, sorry, not fixed cost, variable cost. First you will subtract variable cost, and what you will get is contribution. Okay, from the takings you will subtract variable cost, and what we get is called as contribution. I told you this concept will be studied in detail in the costing subject in the next semester. At the time of hotels also I told you this. We are repeating this statement once again. From that you will subtract fixed cost, from that you will subtract fixed cost, and then what we get is profit. Now this statement we did in, as far as I remember, hotels also. In the lecture 12, if you see, we have done this statement: sales minus variable cost, contribution minus fixed cost, profit. I told you break even point means no profit, no loss, so that profit is zero over here. And then we had done one question based on break even. So similar concept has now come in hospitals also. So this statement we had to make to find the break even point. And as we discussed, break even point means no profit, no loss, means the profit here is zero. Now extra point what you'll note down here is, how do you find the break even point? The formula is break even point, that is BEP, is equal to, okay, the formula is break even point, that is BEP, is equal to fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Okay, fixed cost divided by contribution per unit. Now this is a formula of break even point. So this fixed cost would be divided by not this contribution but contribution per unit. Here per unit in this chapter means per bed day or per patient day. Here per unit means in this chapter per bed day, or bed can also be written as per patient day. Okay, contribution will be divided by per bed day or per patient. What is this per bed day or per patient day? Composite unit. Number of beds or number of patients into number of days in the year will give you total patient or bed days. And then contribution divided by total number of bed days or patient will give you contribution per bed day. Okay, so how would you find this contribution per bed day or per patient day? Contribution per bed day, either you call it as per bed day or you call it as per patient day, that would be obtained as total contribution divided by number of bed days or patient days in a year. Total contribution divided by number of bed days or number of patient days in a year. Okay, this is how you'll get contribution per bed day. Now further I'll also explain you don't have to write it. Okay, I repeat, you don't have to write, but I'll explain you how did we come across this formula of fixed cost upon contribution per unit. Understand this. See, we know that sales minus cost is profit, and here cost is of two types, fixed cost plus variable cost. So if I expand this statement in purely mathematical terms, then sales means, can I say selling price per unit into number of units X is the total sales revenue. Selling price per unit into number of units X is the total sales revenue minus. What is fixed cost? Simply F. Fixed cost does not depend on number of units. Further, what is variable cost? Variable cost which varies from unit to unit. So it also depends on X, number of units. Means variable cost is just like sales revenue. Selling price per unit into number of unit X. Variable cost per unit into number of units X. Fixed cost does not depend on X units, because even if the 0 units are produced or innumerable units are produced, fixed cost is going to remain fixed. It is going to remain same. And in break-even point, the profit would be 0. Okay, break-even point means a situation where the profit is 0. So further, if we expand this statement, then selling price into number of units X minus fixed cost minus variable cost into number of units X equals to profit would be 0 in break-even point. Now if you take X values together and bring F on the other side, then minus F would become plus F on the other side. If you take out X common, then S minus V will be equal to F. If you take out S minus V on the other side, then it gets divided. So what is this X? It is number of units at which the profit is 0, means you can say break-even point. What is this X here? Number of units at which the profit is 0, that is break-even point. What is this F here? Fixed cost. And what is this S minus V? What is S? Sales takings minus V variable cost, contribution. But here S is selling price per unit, V is variable cost per unit. So what is S minus V? It is contribution per unit. This is how this formula is derived mathematically. Okay. So just for understanding, you don't have to write it, but I explain it one more time so that you remember the formula. Sales minus cost is profit. Cost is of two types, fixed cost plus variable cost. Total sales revenue would be selling price per unit into X units sold minus fixed cost will be simply F, because they don't depend on number of units. Variable cost will again be variable cost per unit into X units produced and sold. And at break-even point, the profit is 0. Now, if you open the brackets, then minus into plus, this becomes minus. If you take X values together, then Sx minus Vx minus F on the other side becomes plus F. If you take out X common, then in bracket S minus V equals to F. So what would be X, the number of units, equal to F divided by S minus V. Now, what is X, number of units of break-even point? What is F, fixed cost? What is S minus V? Contribution, but S is selling price per unit, V is variable cost per unit. So S minus V denotes contribution per unit. And in case of hospital, we don't have number of units sold. Instead of number of units, from what do the hospitals earn the revenue? From the patients, from the beds. So per unit becomes per bed day or per patient day. So finally what you have to remember is this, all you don't have to write, this was just for explanation. Finally what you have to remember is, in our solution we'll be making this statement. What statement? Takings minus variable cost will get contribution, minus fixed cost will get profit. And then how will you find the break-even point? Fixed cost divided by contribution per bed day or per patient day. And how will you find contribution per bed day or patient day? Total contribution divided by number of bed days or patient days in a year. So this entire thing, all of you pause the video and note it down in the summary. And don't write that formula, how is it derived. But this entire break-even point portion, you all can pause and note it down. I hope everyone would have completed with that in the summary now. All of you understand question number 7, how to solve this. First of all, since we require fixed and variable cost in this question, so we will classify all the expenses into two categories, variable and fixed. For variable, we will mark them as V, and for fixed cost, we'll mark them as F. So look at the things. Jaslok Health Hospital runs only an intensive care unit. For this purpose, the building is hired on a rent of rupees 10,000 per month by the hospital. This is fixed cost. Why fixed? Because once you take a building on rent of 10,000 per month, it is your fixed expense. After that, whether the patients come or don't come, you have to bear that rent of 10,000 per month. So it's a fixed cost. Variable is something which depends on the patient. Fixed is something which does not depend on the patient. So rent of the building 10,000 per month is fixed cost. The ICU consisted of 50 beds and 5 more beds can be safely accommodated when the situation demand at a charge of rupees 5 per bed per day. Presently, hospital has a capacity of 50 beds, but as you can see, even in the current times pandemic during corona, all hospitals are running above their capacity. They are keeping the patients above their capacity. So here also they say, if the situation demands, like the current situation of COVID-19, then in addition to 50 beds, how many more beds can be accommodated safely in the hospital? 5 more beds can be accommodated at a charge of 5 per bed per day. The ICU has undertaken to bear the cost of repair and maintenance charges. So ICU has undertaken to bear the cost means it would be treated as fixed cost whenever we come across that, because it does not depend on the number of patients. ICU has undertaken to bear the cost of repairs and maintenance means wherever and whenever required, repairs and maintenance would be done from time to time, like AMC, annual maintenance contract would be given. So here repairs and maintenance would go into the fixed charge because of this sentence. During the financial year, it was ascertained that only for 120 days in a year, the ICU had full capacity of 50 patients per day. This will help us in getting this number of patient days or number of bed days. 120 days into 50 patients, 6,000 patient days or bed days. For 80 days, put comma after this, it had on an average 40 beds only occupied. So 80 days into 40 beds will get number of bed days or patient days per day. The ICU has recovered an overall amount of rupees 100 per day on an average from, not from, make it from, each patient. Okay, from each patient. So this will give us this total takings in the beginning. How much hospital is recovering from each patient? 100 per day per patient on an average. This will give us takings to start with. How will we start our solution? With the takings, and that will calculate 100 into number of patient and number of days. The total higher charges, the extra beds incurred for the whole year amounted to rupees 4,000. Means we have seen here that the charge is 5 per bed per day. So 4,000 divided by 5. How many number of bed days the extra beds would have been acquired? 800. Number of beds into number of days, that is bed days, extra beds would have been acquired. Okay, we have recovered 4,000 rupees as higher charges of extra bed. The charges are 5 rupees per bed per day. Means how many number of bed days extra beds would have been taken? 4,000 divided by 5. 800 bed days extra beds would have been taken. So this COVID-like situation would have arisen how many times in a year? 800 bed days times in a year. Expert, okay, this higher charges of extra beds 4,000 would also be taken as a variable cost, because higher charges of extra beds depends on the number of patients. So that would also be taken as variable cost. Okay, mark it as V. Higher charges of building is fixed cost. We have to pay that whether patients come or not. But this higher charges of extra beds we have to give only when that extra patients come in the hospital. So that is a variable cost. Expert doctor from various places and outstations were engaged, and the fees were paid on the basis of number of patients attended and the time spent by them on an average, and it worked out to 20,000 per month. So this expert doctor's fees will also be variable because it is clearly given. It was paid on the basis of number of patients. So it has worked out to 20,000 per month, but this expert doctor's fees depends on the number of patients, so it's a variable cost. The other expenses for the year were as under. Since the other expenses are given for the year, we will be making the statement for 1 year. Since the expenses are given for 1 year, this we have done in hotels also. If information is given for 1 year, we make the statement for 1 year. What other information is given? 5 supervisors, each at a salary of 500 per month, were occupied. So there is a fixed cost. Supervisors are to be kept every time, whether patients are there or not. You have to hire a supervisor and keep it in the hospital. When the patient comes, after that, you will not run to find a supervisor for that patient. 10 nurses, each at a salary of 300 per month, will also be fixed cost. You have to keep the nurses whether patients come or not. They are always there in the working there in the hospital. 5 ward boys, each at a salary of 200 per month, is also fixed cost. So ward boys, nurses and supervisors are always there in the hospital whether patients are there or not. Repairs and maintenance we discussed here. Because of this sentence, ICU has undertaken to bear the cost of repairs and maintenance. It is a fixed cost. Cost of food supplied to patients is variable. More patients, more food will be supplied. Less patients, less food will be supplied. Laundry charges is variable. More patients, more cleaning, more laundry. Less patients, less cleaning, less laundry. Medicines supplied purely variable. Only if patients are there, then the medicines are to be supplied. Cost of oxygen, X-ray, etc. other than directly borne for treatment of patients, clearly given in bracket variable expense. Otherwise also oxygen, etc. depends on the number of patients, so it's always variable. Generator expenses are, it should be janitor expenses. Make a correction, not generator, make it janitor. What are janitor expenses? Caretaker. Janitor means a caretaker. So caretaker is variable expense because caretaker is required only in exclusive cases when more patients are there. Otherwise, supervisors are already there, nurses are already there, ward boys are already there. Special caretaker would be appointed only when extra patients are required. So it's a variable expense. Administration charges allocated to ICU is a fixed cost. Now, generator, make it janitor as we discussed. Janitor and other services, see, it's clearly given, are variable. I told you caretaker is variable because these 3 people are already there. So if further you are hiring a janitor, that means that caretaker is required only when extra patients come in the hospital. So as it is related to number of patient days. Prepare a revenue statement. What revenue statement? This revenue statement: sales, takings minus variable cost, contribution minus fixed cost, profit. This revenue statement we have to prepare for the above financial year, and then we have to indicate profit per patient day. So whatever profit we get, dividing by number of bed days, like contribution divided by number of bed days, we get contribution per bed day. Same way, profit divided by number of patient days or bed days will get profit per patient day. Made by, not B7Y, the ICU. Also work out the number of patients required by the unit to break even. So to find that break even point, we'll apply this formula: fixed cost divided by contribution per bed day. Now all of you make the format as it will go. First give the heading. What is the name of the hospital? Jaslok Health Hospital. So give the heading Jaslok Health Hospital, and the heading would be revenue statement of 1 year. As we discussed, we'll make the statement for a period of 1 year. And how many columns will you make in this revenue statement? 2 columns, particulars and amounts. Rather 3 columns, particulars, amount and amount. 2 columns of amount. So all of you pause the video and make the formats: particulars, amount and amount. Yes, I hope everyone would have done this formats. Now, before we start with this, because very first thing what we find, the takings will itself depend on number of patient days. 100 is to be multiplied with the number of patient days in a year. So first from this whole paragraph, we'll find the number of patient days. So below this table, all of you write down as workings. How will we find the number of patient days? Okay, it's a simple calculation. Number of patients. Either you can take number of patients or you can take number of beds. Both means one and the same. Okay, in one bed, two patients cannot be occupied. So number of patients or number of beds will mean one and the same. Multiplied by number of days will give us number of patient days, or you can also call it as bed days. Either you can call it as patient days or you can call it as bed days. So keep this in mind in this chapter, that patient days or bed days means one and the same. Now if you see this paragraph, during the financial year it was ascertained that for 120 days the ICU had full capacity. And what is the capacity? It has 50 beds capacity. So 120 days it had full capacity. So 50 beds into 120 days. Okay, that full capacity, that comes to 6,000 patient days or bed days. And then for 80 days it had 40 beds occupied. So 40 beds were occupied for 80 days. 40 into 80, 3,200. And then extra beds were required for 800 bed days. Directly we discussed, because amount is given rupees 4,000. So we discuss 4,000 divided by 5 per day means 800 bed days. Extra beds would have been acquired. Okay, 4,000 divided by 5. Directly what is 800? It is the number of bed days. So 6,000 plus 3,200 plus 800, total 10,000 bed days are occupied in the hospital. What is this 10,000? Total number of patients into total number of days in the hospital occupied are 10,000. Okay, so 50 beds are there. Based on number of patients and number of beds, you can say total 10,000 patients are coming to the hospital in 1 year. This is what it actually means. Okay, so now let us start our statement. As we discussed, how will we make our statement? We'll start with takings. Now, what are the takings? Total on an average 10,000 patients are coming in 1 year, and you all can see here the ICU has recovered 100 rupees per day on an average from each patient. So 10,000 patient days into rupees 100. What is the total revenue recovered or takings of the hospital? 10,000 into 100, that is 10 lakh rupees. Okay, now from that 10 lakh, first we will subtract variable cost. Okay, from that 10 lakh, first we will subtract variable cost. All the V marked items so that we can get the contribution. So what all items are marked as V from the very beginning? Very first, this higher charges of extra bed, 4,000 rupees. So all of you write down higher charges of extra beds. Okay, higher charges of extra beds, that is 4,000. Then what else is marked as V? Expert doctor's fees, 20,000 per month. So expert doctor's fees. Now 20,000 per month. So 20,000 into 12 months. What will be expert doctor's fees charged? 2,40,000. Then in the table, what all is marked as V? Cost of food supplied to patients, 88,000. So cost of food supplied, 88,000. Then after cost of food supplied, laundry charges we have 56,000. So laundry charges 56,000. that is again variable. Then after laundry charges, we have medicines supplied 70,000, that is also variable. Okay, medicines supplied, that is 70,000. Then after medicines supplied, we have cost of oxygen, X-ray, etc. 93,000. Cost of oxygen, X-ray, etc. 93,000. Then janitor expenses, we have 24,000. Janitor expenses 24,000. Then administration charges are fixed. Okay, no other item is marked as V. All the variable costs are taken into consideration. So all of you do this. Total of variable costs 4,000 plus 2,40,000 plus 88,000 plus 56,000 plus 70,000 plus 93,000 plus 24,000. So what is the total? 5,75,000. Total variable cost is 5,75,000. Okay. Now 10 lakh minus 5,75,000. 4,25,000 will be the contribution. Okay, 4,25,000 will be the contribution. Now from that we will subtract fixed cost. Now we will subtract all the fixed cost. F marked items will be subtracted. This rent of building 10,000 is a fixed cost in the first paragraph. So write down all of you, rent of building. Okay, rent of building 10,000 per month. So 10,000 into 12 months. The total rent would be 1,20,000. Then after rent, in the first 2-3 paragraphs, repairs and maintenance charges is given, but it comes in the next table only. So no other fixed cost is given in the first 2-3 paragraphs. Now supervisor's salary. Okay, fixed cost will include supervisor's salary. What is the amount of supervisor's salary? 5 supervisors, 500 per month. So 500 per month into 12 months would be 1 supervisor's salary into 5 supervisors. So 500 into 12, 6,000 into 5 supervisors, 30,000. Then after supervisor's salary, we have nurse's salary. There are 10 nurses. So nurse's salary, now 10 nurses and we are paying them 300 per month. So 300 per month into 12 months, 3,600 per nurse into 10 nurses, 36,000 would be the nurse's salary. Then ward boy's salary we have. So ward boy's salary is also fixed in nature. Okay, ward boy's salary. Now ward boy's salary you are given 200 per month and 5 ward boys are there. So 200 per month into 12 months would be 2,400 into 5 ward boys are there. So 12,000. Then after ward boys salary we have repairs and maintenance 7,000 fixed amount directly. Repairs and maintenance 7,000. After repairs and maintenance 7,000. Administration charges are there 99,000, that is also fixed amount. So administration charges, okay, administration charges 99,000. Administration charges would be 99,000. Then any other item marked as F? No. All fixed costs are taken into consideration. So total would come to 1,20,000 plus 30,000 plus 36,000 plus 12,000 plus 7,000 plus 99,000. That comes to 3,04,000. Okay. You all can cross check that. 1,20,000 plus 30,000 plus 36,000 plus 12,000 plus 7,000 plus 99,000. That comes to 3,04,000. From 4,25,000, if you subtract 3,04,000, then 1,21,000 is the final amount of profit. So this statement is done. Revenue statement. First answer asked. Prepare a revenue statement for the above financial year we have done. Now what else is asked? Find profit per patient made by the ICU. So how will we find the profit per patient made by the ICU? See, we discussed that total profit we are getting, and if you divide it by number of patient days, this 10,000 number of patient days. Okay, why number of patient days? Because they are the total number of patients coming into the hospital. So total profit, if you divide by number of patient days, you will get profit per patient. We are earning total profit of 1,21,000 and 10,000 patients are coming to the hospital in 1 year. So 1,21,000 divided by 10,000, what profit per patient is earned? Rupees 12.1 is the profit per patient earned by the hospital. So two answers are done. Third answer, also work out the number of patient days required by the unit to break even. Now this break even formula I have given you. Fixed cost divided by contribution per bed day. So first we have to find this contribution per bed day. Then only we can find the break even point. So first we'll find contribution per bed day. That would be obtained as total contribution divided by total number of bed days or patient days. Okay, I told you bed days and patient days means one and the same. So what is the total contribution we had obtained here? 4,25,000. Okay, divided by what are the number of bed days or patient days we obtained? 10,000. Okay, 10,000. So 4,25,000 divided by 10,000. What would be the contribution per bed day or patient day? It would be 4,25,000 divided by 10,000, 42.5. Okay, 42.5. Now we can find the break even point. What is the formula of break even point? That would be equal to fixed cost divided by contribution per bed day. Okay, fixed cost divided by contribution per bed day or per patient day. Now what is the fixed cost we obtained in our table? See, the total fixed cost is 3,04,000. So 3,04,000 divided by what contribution did we get per bed day? 42.5. So do it everyone. 3,04,000 divided by 42.5. What is the number of units of break even? 7,152.9 patients is the break even point, means approximately you rounded off to 7,153 patients is the break even point for the hospital. Means if the hospital gets 7,153 patients and charges 100 rupees per patient, then the Break even means the profit would come to 0. You can cross check. If 7153 patients come, 0 means very close to 0 it will come because we are rounded off. So 7153 patients into 100, how much revenue will the hospital earn? 7,15,300. Now variable cost is 5,75,000 divided by, right now we have 10,000 patients. So can I say per patient variable cost is 57.5. So for 7153 patients, the variable cost would be 7153 into 57.5. Don't take 5,75,000. 5,75,000 is of 10,000 patients. So if 7153 patients are there, variable cost will also come down. So 7153 patients into 57.5, the variable cost would go to 4,11,297.5 approximately. Now if you subtract that from 7,15,300, then that would come to 3,04,002.5 approximately, means 3,04,000 roughly. Okay, you can round it off to 3,04,000 roughly because of rounding off it's coming. Now fixed cost is going to remain same. Whether patients are 7153 or 10,000, fixed cost means it's going to remain same, which is 3,04,000. So can you all see the profit comes to 0 or not? This is how the break-even point is calculated. If this is just for understanding, you don't have to write it. But if 7153 patients come, then the profit would be 0, means no profit, no loss, break-even point. So keep this in mind, how to find the break-even point. Fixed cost divided by contribution per bed day. Okay. So all of you resolve this entire question once again so that you get confident with this. More practice on this question we will do in one more video lecture, that is the next lecture. Plus we will solve it in live session also for practice. That'll be all for this lecture. Bye everyone. Take care. See you in the next lecture.